Hello, good evening. Welcome to Anupali. I do hope you have had a very, very wonderful weekend. I look forward to being here with you every Sunday to touch base and to bring you up to date with the work we are doing in various sectors to bring value to your lives. I have always felt that in order to serve you better, we must always remain close to you and in tune with the issues that affect you. This is why we created this forum to establish a link that includes you in the process of governance and development. It is our opportunity every week to speak on issues of national development and exchange ideas on how best to move this country forward. Today, we will discuss social security, a topic that holds relevance for every Dominican as it provides individuals with a degree of income security when faced with the contingencies of old age, incapacity, disability, unemployment, or the rearing of children. The Dominica Social Security celebrates 45 years in existence this year, and I thought it was an ideal time to look back on how the DSS has grown over the years and the various services on offer here to benefit the citizens of Dominica. My guests are Mrs. Janice Jean-Jacques Thomas, the Director of the Dominica Social Security, and Mr. Augustus Etienne, the Deputy Director. Welcome to Anupali, Mrs. Jean-Jacques Thomas and Mr. Etienne. Mrs. Jean-Jacques, you've been around DSS for a long time.
A long time, PM.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you tell my audience, who you are and your role at the DSS, please?
Okay, I am Janice. Good evening, Honorable Prime Minister, and thank you for having us. I am Janice Jean-Jacques Thomas, the Director of the Dominica Social Security, and I'm very pleased to be here on this program this evening.
Well, how long have you been at DSS?
That's 40 years.
40 years?
Well, if I could break for study purposes.
A little break for study.
For study purposes.
Great. Excellent. Mr. Etienne, please.
Good evening,
welcome.
PM. Thank you for having us. Augustus Cletus Etienne. I'm currently the Deputy Director of the Dominica Social Security, and I'm pleased to be here with you to interface with you and our audience this evening.
And how long have you been at DSS?
34 years this
34
year.
years. Yes. Excellent, excellent. And I don't know why people say I'm in government for too long. Well, let us get into the DSS. And I think there may be some benefit in explaining to our listeners and viewers the concept of Social Security, how it works, and what its main objectives are.
Okay. So Social Security is a form of social protection which provides income security for its insured persons when they suffer from the number of contingencies that are covered. Social Security operates on a fundamental principle of pooling of resources. So everyone who is insured pays contributions and you share the risk, meaning that when somebody suffers from any one of the risks that we cover, they qualify for benefits. So you pool resources. I always tell people, like, think of it that all of us here carry water and we fill a pool with water. We went into the pool, each of us bathe. At the end of it, I cannot take a pail of water and say, this is my pail of water. The principle is we enjoyed from the pool. So there's a solidarity principle that governs Social Security. One person may qualify for much more than they put into the pool, but each of us, we are brothers keepers. So this is the fundamental principle of Social Security. So I always tell people, for instance, if my Pampo was still alive and she had contributed to Social Security, she would still be benefiting from her contributions.
Because a lot of people feel that, I will never get to the age of retirement, and therefore it makes no sense make any contributions, and then they get to the age of retirement.
That is it.
You've seen cases like this?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Even recently, PM, I was in Tong, and a young lady met me, and she told me, oh, Janice, I came to the office, I wanted to see you, because the staff told her they could only allow her to go back 2 years to pay contributions as a self-employed person. And since she was approaching retirement age, she wanted me to allow her to go back 10 years. I tell her, I'm sorry, I cannot do that for you. The thing is, you have to pay as you go along. So at the time when you qualify for benefits, you qualify based on what you had paid over the years. But you cannot come now because you figure you're coming of age and you want to pay a lump sum.
I see. Now this year, the DSS observes 45 years of existence, as I said. Take us back over the years. How was the fund established and how has it grown since?
Okay, to say that prior to the establishment of the Dominica Social Security system, there was in place the National Provident Fund, which had been established 5 years prior to the Dominica Social Security. And the National Provident Fund then was like a form of savings where the contributions that workers made into the fund would have been refunded to them with interest on it when they became disabled or upon retirement. And what was realized is that because they will receive a lump sum payment upon retirement or upon becoming disabled, that grant would have been used up in quick time. And after the use of that grant, they have nothing else to depend on to look forward to receiving. And so it was felt that that program was not adequate to maintain them in their twilight years. So Social Security replaced National Provident Fund because it offered a broader, more comprehensive package of benefits, not just at retirement or upon disability, but while you're working, if you fall sick for a while, if you're pregnant and you have to stop work, if you become injured on the job, the retirement pension is still there, survivors for your relatives if you die and leave dependents behind, funeral grant and all of those. So the Social Security package of benefits is more comprehensive than what National Provident Fund provided. So when it started in 1976, 45 years ago, it only provided coverage to employees, people who work for other people. Self-employed persons were unheard of, voluntary contributors were non-existent. But over the years, as the system developed, it has now made it possible for a self-employed person to get coverage. We also have a provision for people to pay voluntarily to the program so as to access future benefits when they retire and so on. So the system has evolved over the last 45 years. And if I may say so myself, we have a track record of efficiently delivering on that promise, because if you speak to our pensioners, they will tell you that when Social Security started, they were up in arms. What is that business? What is that thing? They want to take my money. That 60 years is so far, and the 60 years reach, and then they realize, thank God for Social Security, because if it were not for Social Security, I don't know what I would do at this point.
And PM, just to add to what Mr. Etienne was saying, we are finding now our pensioners are living much longer. And so we have one person who is now 103 years old. And imagine he has received benefits from the age of 60 to 103. We have two other gentlemen who are now at the age of 98. They're still receiving their benefits. We have over 5 women who are at the age of 97 years. So imagine these people have been receiving pensions from the age of 60 and their payments continue.
So generally, what benefits does one qualify for as an insured person under the Dominica Social Security program?
So the benefits we cover at Social Security, they fall into 3 main categories. Short-term benefits, which are available to a person while they are engaged in employment and they have to abstain from work either because of illness, where we have sickness benefit. If you have to have a child, there's maternity benefit, which provides you with a benefit for 12 weeks while you have to abstain from work for the purpose of having a baby. And then we have also the funeral grant falls under short-term benefit, in that if a person dies, we pay towards their burial once they were insured for at least 1 year, or if they were in receipt of either sickness benefit or maternity benefit, they'd qualify for the funeral grant. Then we have, it's between the two, employment injury benefits. Employment injury benefits are payable to a person who suffered an accident on the job or contracted some kind of occupational disease. So a person like that would be paid something similar to sickness benefit for a period of up to 6 months, if it means they're sick for that long. And then at the end of that period, they are assessed, and the doctor would advise what level of disability there is. So someone could actually move from employment injury benefit, which is payable in the short term, to a disability benefit, which can be paid for the rest of the person's life.
So that's what you call when somebody is medically bodied off.
No PM.
different.
So if the person is medically bodied off, this is an invalidity benefit.
Okay.
So it is payable. So disablement comes from work.
From work.
You suffered something on the job.
Yeah.
Either an accident or you contracted an occupational disease. Invalidity now comes from because of some medical condition, you are unable to continue working, you are bodied off from work.
And you pay under these two arrangements, you would provide benefits up to when?
As long as the person continues to suffer from the condition. So for instance, there's a gentleman who was working in the construction sector. He fell from a scaffold and he became disabled. And we've been paying him a disability benefit for so many years now. But he's there, he's been taking care of his sister, and he continues to receive benefit, and he'll continue to receive that benefit for as long as he lives.
Yeah. But there are cases when people get medically bodied off for a particular reason, or you have the invalidity issue, and they go back to work.
Yes. So when the person is able to return to work, it stops.
It stops.
So there are actually times when the insured person themselves will come to tell you, look, I am better now.
Yeah.
So my doctor has advised that I can return to work, and the person returns to work.
Yeah.
So in the long term, we pay this invalidity benefit, and then we pay the age pension, which is the most popular benefit in the sense that this is where the largest amount of resources go to into paying people their pensions, and these pensions are payable for life.
Okay.
Then we have a survivor's benefit, which is also payable where an insured person dies. And that person either left behind children or a spouse. In the absence of a spouse and children, a dependent parent or grandparent above the age of 60 can qualify for the survivor's pension.
So it's a wide range of benefits.
A wide range to cover a person ready from the cradle to the grave. Because we also have in the short term, we have the maternity grant, which is the lump sum where we pay persons when they have the baby. We pay them a grant to help them meet the additional expenses that will come along because they had a child.
Now, how much do you pay out annually, though?
Our benefit expenditure come up to like $60 million.
$60 million. So you pay $60 million every year to
pensioners
and beneficiaries.
Yes. So most of that goes into pensions. More than 90% goes into paying of pensions, and the rest is short term.
This is why it's so important for all of us to continue making our contributions, that employers do remit to the DSS employees, their commitments to their employees, and the self-insured register and make a contribution.
Yes,
$60 million in any currency is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Indeed.
So,
when Mrs. Thomas was speaking about the disability and the invalidity, we have to differentiate the two. Because for the disability that arises from the work-related injury or disease, the qualifying conditions is different than the person who becomes disabled by some other medical needs. Because if you sustain an injury on the job or contract an occupational disease on the job, you qualify once you are in trouble employment, meaning that you are registered, your employer is paying. And even if sufficient contributions have not been paid into the system, you would qualify for that benefit. Whereas for you to qualify for sickness, invalidity, and others, you would have had to make a certain number of contributions. By the time you become disabled, you become incapacitated and invalid for you to receive invalidity.
Now, for the fund to be sustainable, employers need to make their contributions, on behalf of their employees. To what extent, though, are employers fulfilling that legal obligation?
I must say, most employers meet their obligations, especially the employers in the formal sector. They meet their obligations. But we do have employers in the I must mention, the construction sector. That is where we have the most challenges. So they use a number of strategies to either avoid or evade the payment of contributions. And there are times where you find that the employees connive with the employers not to pay the contributions. However, if they would contract or they suffer some accident on the job, they come to Social
run to you
Security.
straight.
So it means they know quite well that they should be paying the contributions. But generally, especially in the construction sector, that's where we have the problems and some domestics, because employers who engage domestic workers also must pay contributions for them. But for the most part, many of our employers in the formal sector do comply and they pay their contributions, and including the government of Dominica.
We do pay.
The government of Dominica is back to paying contributions regularly, PM.
And that was way back in,
Yes.
2000, from 2002, 2004.
I must say that we have no problems receiving contributions from the government of Dominica, because there was a time when people would say they're not paying the contributions, government not paying.
Yeah.
But that has been history. The government pays us, and by that, I guess, it helps to support other employers in meeting their obligations in a timely manner.
Well, we give a firm commitment to this. This is a solemn commitment we've given, even during our most difficult period,
Yes.
2002, 2006, the austerity program, we ensured we pay.
Yes.
And I remember once, I was Prime Minister already, we have the system so circumspect, we pay so much detail to it, that I recall we were able to pick up one person who we had not paid
for
the contribution for. That person was in agriculture. And I think there's an error in uploading that person's name. And so we were able to capture this one person out of so many of the thousands of employees of the state and so on. So we give a commitment to this.
And you see, the other thing is, PM, the contributions that are paid by employers is the main source of income for Social Security. So at this point in time, our investment income help to subsidize the shortfall in contributions. But the contributions represent the major source of income for Social Security.
Now, what do we say to contractors and construction workers? Because you're more likely to have an accident on the job, on the construction site, than if you're sitting at a desk.
Correct.
What message do we have for both the contractors and the construction workers, though?
We keep appealing to them, PM. That's what we can do through moral suasion, encourage them to pay their contributions. And there are those who are coming up on board much better now, but they're still the hardcore ones whom we have to end up sometimes taking them to court to get them to comply.
But shouldn't we also ensure that the person who would have contracted these contractors, that there's also a responsibility on their part to ensure that those payments are made? In our case, we ask for a Social Security clearance.
Clearance, yes.
To ensure that before we issue a contract, I think we need to look at this, not to impose on people, but really for the protection of people.
Yes. The clearance system works, and we actually have a few employers in the private sector who use the clearance system. Before they award a contract, they would inquire from Social Security, would have to send them a certificate indicating that this person is complying with Social Security.
Yeah. I know another major area, I've heard you on the radio many times, major concern that you've been lamenting is in regards to self-employed people who are not making regular contributions. Can you speak about how important it is to get to this practice and the systems you have put in place to assist with compliance?
Self-employed coverage began in 1989, where coverage has been available to persons who work for themselves, who are their own bosses. They determine the terms and conditions of their work and all of that. And contrary to what most people might think, under the law, their participation in the program is mandatory, just as it is for employees. So they are required, once they are engaged in work for pay, to register, not just to register, but to pay contributions, importantly, because registration is the key that opens the door, but what gives you access to benefits is the payment of contributions. And over the years, we've seen many self-employed persons come forward and actually register. They start to pay, and they abandon midway. And many of them wait until retirement age is hitting them in the face, and they try to come and try to double up, as Mrs. Thomas was saying just now, to pay back. The way the system operates is that as you are working and earning, you're supposed to make your contributions, because you cannot wait for when something happens to you for you to say, I'm coming to pay to take care of me now that something has happened. Social Security is insurance. You pay premiums ahead of anything happening. In the event that something happens, then you have access to benefits. So self-employed persons are eligible for coverage under the program. Many of them register. They need to come and pay contributions. So we have not historically enforced the law to take any self-employed person to court for failing to comply with the regulations. But we have the force of law where we can actually do this. And probably one of those good days to drive home the point, we might actually take somebody to court just to let self-employed persons understand that they are supposed to register and pay contributions. So, I don't know, I think as human beings, we like to be pushed, we like the slave mentality.
But could we not look at the DSS developing an app? I mean, to sort of send a reminder to people when the month is coming to an end or the fortnight is coming to an end. Because there may very well be, and I'm not making an excuse for anybody, I'm just looking at possibilities. There may very well be a situation where sometimes people may forget.
Yes.
And it's more difficult for them to.
And by the time they catch up, a couple of days have gone.
And one of the things that's working well for us, PM, a few years ago we introduced the concept of having community compliance officers. We have some officers, we have a few officers based in the area, and over the years we are seeing they collect contributions quite well from self-employed persons, especially in the area. So they do a bit of education and they collect from those self-employed persons. So we are actually experiencing a bit of growth, small yes, but a certain level of growth from contributions being paid by the self-employed persons, and much of that is brought in by the compliance officers who go out on the field to them. And we have been discussing the possibility of issuing invoices to them as a means of reminding them that their contributions are in fact due. One of the things we want to do too is to be able to communicate with our insured persons through using the technology that is available. So all those are things that we are looking at doing down the road, where you can actually issue a thing to employers, self-employed persons who haven't come in to remit their payments, send out a reminder to them that the contributions are due.
I agree.
We do put a reminder on the radio every month before the deadline for contributions, but I believe we need to do it more personally, where you can send something to them. So what we're doing, we're trying to collect information on people, their cell phone numbers and their email addresses, that we can communicate with them personally.
Sure. Now, we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and businesses have taken a hard hit from COVID-19. How severely have Social Security contributions been impaired?
We have seen a decline in contributions from persons in the hospitality sector, and this is still down. In the other areas, though, in the immediate occurrence of the pandemic, we saw a decline, but we're back. So if impact hasn't been as drastic as we had anticipated earlier, much of the areas are back up, and it's just in the hospitality, the hotel sector, that contributions are still down.
Now, let me ask you, for the benefit of the listening and viewing public. So the folks who are in the hospitality sector now, they're not employed, some of them are not employed, or they may be on 2-day or 3-day week. Can they continue to make the contributions as if they were employed to ensure that they do not lose the possibility of gaining their benefits?
That is something that is possible. We have been exploring the possibility of somebody paying in their capacity as an employee, and in that case, you'd have to pay either as a voluntary contributor or a self-employed person. But the law at the moment doesn't allow us to accept contributions in two capacities.
Okay. Well, maybe something we need to look at and to see whether there's some flexibility.
That would be good, because we've seen where the earnings of some persons have declined significantly because the employers try to help them, so give them 2 days a week.
Yeah.
But their income has declined significantly. So if it was possible that they could meet their contributions by some means, probably their family overseas helping them, or even from help that's available nationally, they could in fact top up what their employer is paying for them. That would serve them well.
Maybe something we could look at, and,
Yes,
and
yes,
if there
yes,
is a need for amendment to legislation.
Yes.
Correct.
Have you though, introduced any new policies or approaches to cushion the impact that you've seen as a result of COVID-19?
One of the actions that we took is we wanted to actually encourage employers to pay. So there's a late fee penalty that is due once the employer has, the 14th of the month has passed before the employer paid the contributions. So when they pay late, what we did is that we will waive in the late fees. We were not charging them the late fees because we wanted to actually encourage them to pay. And then we were also working on a means where employers can the medical officers and employers can communicate with us electronically, where the claims that are due to be sent to Social Security can be done electronically to the system.
Yeah, and also in the presence of the pandemic, to avoid the physical contact and so, to allow people to do a lot of their transactions online as opposed to coming to the office physically.
And we've seen people making use of this online platform?
Yes, they have, yes.
Now, the government through the Social Security facilitated relief payments to people who had lost their jobs and employment due to COVID-19. How successful has this been, though?
It has been very successful. There's great demand. We've paid, we received more than 5,000 applications, and we've paid from the month of April. We've been paying this benefit, and the payment continues. Of course, over the last few months, there's a decline in the number of persons because many of them have returned to work. But the sectors which are still not yet fully functional, the persons who are affected continue to be paid.
And the government has extended this to
until April.
Until April.
Yes.
So it started in April.
It started in April. The first payments were made in respect of the month of April, and that is where there was most demand. So the highest number of claims were for that month. And for people who are claiming late, we still pay them. And in the later months, the number of persons declined. And right now, the requirement now is that people must confirm that they are still affected. We review, and they are paid. So the payments, it has been extended to the month of April.
And I want to, on behalf of the government, to thank yourself, DSS, for this partnership. You know, we felt that you were the best placed institution to handle this on behalf of the state. And, you know, I must say that you've done so efficiently. And so we're very appreciative of this, and I will look forward to continued partnership. I think we're going to take a break to hear some testimonials from some of the beneficiaries of the Dominica Social Security Program. The DSS has asked us to air those for them, and we are much obliged. We'll take a break and we'll come back while we view and listen to the videos. Thank you.
My name is Reverend Dr. Reginald Lafleur.
My name is Christiane Challenger, fondly known as Chrissy.
My name is Joanna Lloyd.
My name is Michael Murphy.
My name is Michelle Joseph.
Currently, I'm 67.
I am 29 years of age.
This year, I'll be 69.
I will be 72 years old on May 19th this year.
I am a recipient of the disablement benefit from the Dominica Social Security for the past 7 years.
I have received self-employed benefits.
Presently, I am receiving age benefit, that is a retirement benefit.
I retired from one company at 60, and I filed for my pension, age pension.
I am a two-time student loan applicant of the Dominica Social Security.
I actually registered as a self-employed person.
I have worked all my life and paid social, in fact we started paying by NPF, it was National Provident Fund.
My benefits used to go to the National Provident Fund, and that was way back in 1971.
But the Social Security is established, it's on the law in Dominica.
If you are on your job and you get injured or in an accident and you cannot work for the rest of your life, Once you have been paying Social Security over the years, they'll take care of you.
I never imagined that I would have been diagnosed with glaucoma, which eventually caused the loss of total sight.
I was at work carrying on my normal schedule and I fell at work. Next thing I know, I am unable to work again. As a matter of fact, my doctors told me that I should forget about an 8 to 4 because I can't sit for long periods, I can't stand for long periods, and I can't really do anything much with my hands.
The word is Social Security. That means you are secure, right?
Let me tell you, Social Security works. It works. And people need to know that, and people need to participate so that they can benefit.
One of the workers said to me one day, you know you have received or you are receiving benefit, but you have received almost twice as much than you had already invested.
I have never received a call from my banking institution to tell me that my loan payment is late.
As far as I'm concerned, the Social Security have always been paying us on time.
Every month, my contribution is on an account before my salary. And by the way, you can still stay employed. I'm still employed.
You never know when life throws you a curveball, like I said before. So you should definitely register. You should definitely make contributions in order to secure yourself.
To remind us of the importance of making our contributions to the Dominica Social Security.
And PM, if you mind, one of our testimonials is from a young lady who suffered an accident on her job. And her testimony is so important because many times young people think Social Security is down the road for them. And so they can wait.
She's 29 years
She's
now.
29.
And she says she's been using it for 7 years now.
7 years. So she has 22
22
years. So that just highlights how young it is. You can be afflicted and you will need to benefit from a Social Security.
And in her case, she will receive it until death.
Until death. And then because life is so uncertain, it's really better that you make sure you have the protection that is provided by the Dominica Social Security. Yes, Bill.
Now, Parliament has approved the incremental increase in the pensionable age to 65, and this is now in effect as of this year. Can you explain to us the implications of this for beneficiaries? Mr. Etienne?
Okay. To say that all of the benefits that the Social Security pays have certain qualifying conditions associated with them, and the law stipulates when, how, what quantum, for how long those benefits are to be paid. In the case of the age benefit, the retirement benefit, for you to qualify, you have to attain an age, because from the inception of Social Security, the retirement age was always 60. But after several actuarial reviews, as is required by law every 3 years, it has been noted that our people are living longer, and so a recommendation was made to increase the pensionable age to allow people to work longer. And so what had happened is that we had expected that just as persons were guided by the 60 years retirement age back then, people would similarly be guided by the pensionable age of 65 now. And that increase, that incremental increase began in 2012 to the extent that it has now settled at 65. The law is saying that for you to qualify for a full pension in 2021, you need to be 65 years. But the law also made provision that if somebody is not able to wait until they attain the full age, they could apply for early pension. They would receive a modified pension.
At 60?
Anytime after 60.
Anytime after 60?
Between 60 and the now 65 years pensionable age.
Because you have a situation where any private sector, some private sector entities, the age of retirement is at 60. That's correct?
Some employers have their employees, yes, limit office, leave office
at 60.
From 60, yes. Others have brought their age up in line with Social Security, and some people, they leave one job and they settle for something else until they get to the full age. In the case of public servants, I believe they receive a bridging pension that tie them over from 60 up to the time they qualify for their full pension from Social Security.
Now, what improvements have we seen in the program's benefit package over the years, though?
Yes, over the years, there are a number of changes, improvements that have been made to the benefit package without necessarily having an increase in the contributions to finance those benefits. First of all is the maternity grant. The maternity grant is a lump sum amount that is paid to an insured person on the confinement of a child. Where the woman is not insured, the father of the child can claim that grant. When we started Social Security, that grant was $25. It is now $1,000. And it's $1,000 per child. So if you have multiple births, you can qualify for as much as $1,000. And I must say, the $1,000 came into being recently when government actually encouraged us to make that change. And then the insured persons welcome that. So that if you confine and you give birth, you had multiple births. If it's 2 children, you can get $2,000. 3 children, $3,000. So you started off with $25, and now it's $1,000 per child.
And the $25 was per confinement at the time?
Yes.
Per confinement.
Then we have the funeral grant. A funeral grant is meant to assist in burying an insured person. So it is payable to whoever has met or is liable to meet the cost of the final expenses.
On average, how much is this?
Well, we recently established that $3,000 can in fact meet the cost of a regular funeral. But it started at $100, and it is now $3,000. And in addition to that, we added where now, if you have a spouse who is not insured, you can claim a funeral grant to assist you in burying that person. Or where if you have a dependent child who has died, you can in fact claim a funeral grant to assist you in burying that dependent child. Yes.
Also the pensions that people receive. In the past, inflationary increases were granted on an ad hoc basis, but from 2010, we've had a legislated increase in the pensions in payment on a triennial basis every 3 years by the average rate of inflation. So now people know that every 3 years they'll get a small increase on their pensions to compensate for the cost of living, the impact that cost of living has had on their pensions.
And we've also increased the minimum pension.
The minimum pension.
And the people who used to get, I see, $25,
yes.
$50,
yes.
You know, and then some years we brought it up to 200 minimum, and now it's 300.
It's 300 now.
So nobody gets less than
$300. No.
Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. And the thing with this pension is that before we establish a minimum pension, people would get whatever it is the calculation yielded. So some people would get $15, some little amount, because people who earn small wages, of course, qualify for small pensions. So one of the significant benefits is the establishment of a minimum pension, and lately there, where we increase the minimum pension.
Yeah, and we increase the minimum pension, and to ensure that people will not disproportionately discriminate against, we also increase another tier of the pension, I believe. Yes. So that persons who are getting, let's say 150 or 300, they went to 500 or something like that some years ago?
Not yet.
That hasn't happened, no.
So what has happened is anybody who qualified for anything less than $300 a month is now getting $300 and sometimes $375 based on the number of weeks in the month.
So
because
we need to revisit this unactionable decision or discussion on the
we can actually look at that for the next actual review and measure the impact and then consider that.
Now the DSS has also recently spoken of another change, which involves a 0.25% increase in the contribution rate by all categories of contributors. Can you speak to this, please?
Okay, so when we, in 2012, after one of the reviews, and actually we had a signal that we needed to increase the contribution rate for a number of years, but we were not doing it. And that's one of the things that was affecting us. We would always increase the benefit side, but don't pay attention to the financing side. So in 2012, when we started the introducing the changes to strengthen the sustainability of the fund, we increased the contributions by 0.25% annually. And we were aiming to get a 5% increase. However, we did it very slowly in order to soften the impact on the contributors. So we're expecting that the last year for that 0.25% will be in 2031.
Okay. Now, why is it essential to have an actuarial assessment of the fund conducted periodically? And when was the last actuarial review conducted, and what were some of the recommendations?
Okay, social security systems, insurance systems, always have to be evaluated by actuaries who are experts in statistics, who assess its risk and determine premiums sufficient to cover those risks. So the law requires that the Social Security Fund be subjected to an actuarial review every 3 years, so that the actuary can take stock of what is happening to the system itself, what is happening to the economy, what's happening to the demographics in the country. And because the Social Security system is intended to be in operation, to be in existence in perpetuity, to take care of the last surviving contributor when that time comes, the actuary does those evaluations and makes projections, makes recommendations that are intended to ensure the sustainability of the system for the next 60-year horizon. So every 3 years the actuary comes, he looks at Social Security statistics, how many people are contributing, what is the age profile of those persons, how many people are currently receiving pension, their age profile as well, what is life expectancy, all of those things. And say, okay, for the system to be able to continue making benefit payments at these existing rates, you will need a certain amount of contributions in the fund to do that. And if you, given what is happening now, if you stay there, you might run out of funds, or if you do this, it might push the system that many years forward and so on. So every 3 years that assessment is done. The last one was conducted at the end of 2017. In fact, another one is due to assess the state of the fund as at the end of 2020. And we've actually approached the International Labour Organization, ILO, for them to prepare to undertake the next review, the 14th review, as at the end of 2020. Recommendations, some of the recommendations have been implemented from 2012. As Mrs. Thomas said, the signal had been there for a while before it was actually implemented. But every subsequent actuarial review since the introduction of the reform measures has indicated that the fact that we've taken those steps to implement the 0.25% increase in contribution rate, increase in the pensionable age, and all of those things, signals good news for the fund. It probably doesn't happen as quickly as we would like to see it happen, but it's good news. And so with every subsequent review, they will determine what needs to happen going forward. But it is important that when those recommendations are made, we kind of hit those recommendations and take action in quick enough time that would prevent us having to take drastic measures when it becomes too late. So what happens is if the recommendations are not acted upon early enough, you get to a point where you do something, otherwise the system might just collapse. And you can't afford to allow the system to collapse, so you make changes as you go along. And in fact, when the system started, it was known that the contribution rate that was charged was not sufficient. But because it was new, you had a lot of people working and contributing, not many people pensionable to get paid pension. But as the system comes of age, you have people retiring, more and more people retiring, you have fewer and fewer people working. So you need to be able to make those changes in quick time so that you don't have to get to a point where you must take drastic measures to save the system.
And just to add that over the years, because I remember that increase in contribution and the increase in age, we had those recommendations for so many years, but they were not acted upon. And so we really commend the government of Dominica for acknowledging the need to make those changes and have us implement them, because they are meant to sustain the fund and cause us to be able to pay our benefits well into the future. And that is what Social Security is there for.
Sure, thank you.
But also, while we're making changes to the financing side, we're also recognizing it to maintain relevance as well, that the benefits that people receive from the system make sense to them. And that is why the improvements in the benefits are given periodically. But also, like the need to increase the insurable earnings, the earnings on which people pay contributions, so that when they get benefit, the benefit that they get will more closely approximate the earnings that they were used to receiving.
Yes, that's important.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll look forward to that. Now, you're also involved in providing student loans. Are you still engaging in this?
Yes.
And
yes.
who qualifies?
So the student loans is a form of investment for us, because our contributions represent the largest source of income, but our investment income plays a major role. So a few years ago, we in fact designed a student loan program where children of contributors or contributors themselves could access financing when they want to pursue studies at home, overseas, online, any means. So as you notice, one of our testimonials was from a person who, she took her first student loan when she did her first degree. She did very well, and she's doing her master's now, and she again applied for a student loan from Social Security. The interest rate is just 5.99%. There's no fee that is charged, no processing fee. And so we always like to take the opportunity to make people know that this facility is here. So it is a means of contributing to the human resources of the country, helping them to access cheap financing for their student loans, their study needs, and developing the human resources of the country while also contributing to the investment income for the program.
And this is performing well?
Yes, we have. So far, our revised student loan facility, the persons are paying, meeting their obligations, and that is an important part of the thing, where people can come back, they finish study, and they're paying, servicing their loans.
Sure. Now, as I said, this week you're celebrating 45 years in existence this year. Any plans?
Yes, we have.
For the celebration?
Yes, so what we try to do this year is to highlight the role of Social Security, and much as of it will be disseminating information. So that's why we're really happy that you're able to have us, because we know you have a large following, and we can convey to people. Earlier this afternoon, this evening, some of the staff members won the Carlin XP program. We recognize that she has a large following too, and we can meet all these people in the diaspora. Because right now, Dominicans who are living overseas, they can in fact pay contributions as voluntary contributors. We've seen some growth in that, and we want to continue to encourage them to pay. So that is one of the things we have. Tomorrow, the main anniversary day, we're having a Thanksgiving church service at the Methodist Church, and then we also place a banner in Roosevelt just to inform people that Social Security is celebrating its 45th anniversary. Then we also have a pre-recorded address by the Honorable Prime Minister, being our minister, to be aired on the various radio stations tomorrow morning. Then tomorrow afternoon, while not part of our anniversary, I want to say that tomorrow afternoon we will be attending the funeral of Janet Joseph, who was the first messenger cleaner of the Social Security. And it so happened that she's been buried on the anniversary day. And I told the staff, even if that many of them didn't know her personally, because of what Janet represented for Social Security, we have to attend her funeral, sadly so, tomorrow afternoon. And then on Tuesday, the 2nd, we actually have an outreach to our most senior pensioners. So we'll be visiting 4 of our most senior pensioners, senior in age, and presenting them with a care package. So that includes the gentleman who's 103, 2 of them who are 98, and 2 ladies who are, I count too many. Anyway, 4 of them, 2 97. The men seem to be older this time. So we have 1 gentleman who's 103, 1 who's 98, and 2 ladies who are 97. We'll be visiting them just to tell them, Social Security, still remember that you are there, and present them with a care package. And then we're going to have talks to a number of secondary schools.
Excellent.
So we have teams who will be going to schools all over. We're going to visit all the secondary schools to talk to them about Social Security. Wednesday, we'll be on giving our usual donations. Last year, because of COVID, we didn't do it, but this year we're going to give our annual donations to needy institutions, the different homes for the elderly, charitable organizations. Then we'll be launching a video that we have with our beneficiaries, and another one with staff members talking about different aspects of Social Security.
I'm not sure about the list of beneficiaries, but I would certainly want to suggest to DSS that they should also give a contribution to the House of Hope.
We do that.
We
do that on an annual basis. We do that on an annual basis.
Alpha Center.
Alpha Centennial.
Alpha
Yeah,
Centennial.
So we can actually include them. But the House of Hope is a beneficiary and on annual basis.
Excellent.
Yes, they will normally do.
Excellent.
And then we will be on DBS radio on Thursday, but simulcast to the other stations. Again, on Friday, we visit the schools. Saturday, we will be going to...
Northern District Home for the Aged.
Yes.
At Grange.
Yeah. We wanted to do community service as staff, and when they scout around, they said the home at Grange, the home for the elderly at Grange, they figured that they needed some refurbishing. So we have somebody doing on the balcony, but it needed also facelift. So the staff members will be going down to Portsmouth to do the painting of that building on Saturday.
Excellent. But I want to thank both of you for being here on this program on Anupali this evening. I want to recognize the commitments of the Investment Committee, which is an arm of the DSS management and governance, and also very importantly the Board of Directors. Very able members and who over time have spearheaded the management of the DSS and the funds. I want to thank you for your service and commend you for your efforts, and of course to the management and staff. And I must say, from where I sit as Minister responsible for DSS, I have the highest commendation for yourself, the Director, and Director, Deputy, and of course the senior management and staff. I mean, you're really doing a fantastic job in managing the funds entrusted to you. It's a solemn responsibility, protecting one of the most important groupings in our society, pensioners. And this government will continue to respect the laws as pertain to the DSS and ensuring that the sustainability of the fund can be realized. And I want to commend you, and I wish you all the best as you celebrate 45 years.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
God bless.
Thank you very much.
God bless.
And thanks for having us.
My pleasure.
Bless you too, and continue the good work.
Thank you. We shall take a short break. I'll come back for the wrap-up session. Thank you very much.
When you feel a sneeze or a cough coming, covering your mouth prevents the spread of germs. You probably knew that. But the way you cover up also matters, and that means breaking a habit you've held near and dear all your life. Cover your nose and mouth with your flexed elbow or a tissue, not your hands. Discard the used tissue immediately. Then wash your hands. Help stop the
My name is Reverend.
When you feel a sneeze or a cough coming, covering your mouth prevents the spread of germs. You probably knew that. But the way you cover up also matters, and that means breaking a habit you've held near and dear all your life. Cover your nose and mouth with your flexed elbow or a tissue, not your hands. Discard the used tissue immediately. Then wash your hands. Help stop the spread of germs. Remember, your health is your responsibility.
A message by the Health Promotion Unit of the Ministry of Health, Wellness and New Health Investment, Dominica.
I wanted to speak tonight briefly about these motorcycle accidents which we're having in our country, and to appeal to all our young people to be mindful of your safety. One motorcycle death is one too many, and to have so many of them in such a short period of time is really, really unfortunate. There's really not much a government or the police can do to ensure that people respect the laws and to protect themselves and to adhere to the safety regulations relating to the riding of a motorcycle. I mean, you should not be on a motorcycle if you do not have the safety gear, a helmet, etc. And helmet is very important. Somebody was telling me that they were riding a motorcycle and he had an accident, and the helmet ended up being cracked. And he's saying to me, had he not had the helmet on, quite possibly his skull would have been cracked. And so wearing helmets and protective gear do help save lives. We all can get into an accident at any time. You taking your time, you drive in, you get into an accident. So accidents will happen, but they must not be senseless accidents. And if they can be prevented, they should be prevented. So let us exercise greater care. Let us wear helmets and other safety gear. Adhere to safety rules. Avoid unnecessary overtaking. And what I see motorcyclists doing is that they overtake you on the left side. And when you're driving, you're driving a vehicle and you hear a noise at the back, your first reaction is to swerve to the left. And here comes a motorcycle overtaking you on the left. So they, let us, this is, let us protect ourselves. And then before you get on a motorcycle, you must be able to tell yourself that you can in fact ride this motorcycle. The motorcycles with different speeds. My brother, if you are a mobilette person, stick to a mobilette. If it's 125 you can ride, stick to a 125. But if when you want to go on 1100 for your first time, and let us be serious in this country. Please, I'm really, really begging all of you with bicycles and motorcycles and so on. Let us try to reverse that trend of motorcycle accidents. As I said, things can happen, but some of them I have seen happen. I believe from where I sit and where I see things, and all of us, I'm sure, these things could have been avoided. And young people who leave dependent children behind, who leave a dependent wife behind, a dependent girlfriend behind, and a grieving family, So we have responsibilities and we have to respect this. So I leave it to us on this. And while I'm on this, I would like to extend sincere condolences to the Alexander family of Granby on the unfortunate accident which took the life of your son and your brother in the Pishna area, really unfortunate. And also to my dear constituent, Teresa Charles and family, on the passing of your 15-year-old daughter, who suffered from sickle cell. And, we as parents, it is not natural for us to bury our children. The way we see things, always natural for us to bury, for our children to bury us. And I believe the young child had lots of promise. And so I stand with you, as always, in solidarity, and will continue to be there for you and pray for you. And I cannot tell you what you're going through because I've never been in that situation. I can only imagine what you've been going through. And I know you and your daughter were very, very close, very, very close. So I want to extend my sincere condolences to this. And my dear friend, Mrs. Jarvis, I'm sorry I did not attend the funeral. I got confused with the time. Some people told me it was in the morning, and some told me it was in the afternoon. I programmed myself for 3 o'clock in the afternoon, only to be told by Cecil Joseph that it was in the morning. And I really wanted to attend your husband's funeral. Such a wonderful gentleman, very quiet, unassuming. But I stand with you, as always, in prayer and in solidarity. God bless you. I took a trip to Casabruce on Thursday gone with the PAL rep, Honorable Alfred. And I visited, I believe the road is from Morpo, Good Hope area, across to Saint-Sauveur. And I have given the Minister for Public Works directives to commence the opening of that road, the reopening of that road, that will give an additional access in and out of Saint-Sauveur and Pérez-sur-Fer and of us Good Hope. So we're working on the estimates and they will get the surveys done quickly so this road can be reopened. And I really want to commend the PAL rep there though for taking this initiative and really appreciating the need for her to do what she has to do to improve on the safety aspects of our constituency. So, and of course, the number of projects going on there is $18 million project going on. And I met some young people being trained in electricals and construction, carpentry, there's a project, and I have given them certain commitments that I will follow up on. And also I visited the Castle Secondary School. We need to fast track the designs of the additional classroom block to accommodate the additional students, and that's been worked on, and of course the agricultural component under the BNTF taking place. So a number of wonderful things happening there, and I've made other commitments to that constituency during my visit, so that we can continue to improve the lives of the citizens, residents of this part. I also, as you know, last Monday I had a telephone meeting with the President of China, and His Excellency Xi. As you know, Dominica and China enjoy very close bilateral relations, and we exchange a number of views, both at a multilateral level and also, very importantly, at a bilateral level. And we look forward to the continued working relationship with the People's Republic of China. Dominica continues to adhere to the One China policy. There is but one China. China is recognized as a sole state by the international community. It's part of international law, and we look forward to strengthening our bilateral relations. We spoke on a number of projects, the international airport, the schools that will be constructed, the seaport, the new seaport that will be constructing, and we spoke also of the pandemic and the vaccines that have been developed by China, and ensuring that the vaccines across the world, developed across the world, is really a public good, and it will be accessible by all nations and all citizens. And today I went hiking to Victoria Falls. So many things to visit in Dominica. It was very refreshing to be there, and I did in fact bathe in the river. We crossed the river about maybe 7 or 8 times, and I made it to the apex, to the top, and was able to have a bath and I urge the rest of you to visit the Victoria Falls. And I also had a good engagement with my Rastafarian brethren and his family, especially his grandson, my friend Moses James. And Moses James are descendants of runaway slaves, and they occupied some 12 acres of land in the Victoria area, and it was taken from them by the government in 1971. And when you look at the original plans of this property, it showed where his great-grandfather had a house on this land. And for some reason, the government took it from them. And it was brought to my attention some years ago, and I was able to have the cabinet take a decision to return the lands to the Moses James family. And as I said, we have taken as a government many policy decisions to empower people, but correcting this historical injustice to Moses James and his family, to me, I will forever remember that action. Runaway slaves, we have to pay homage to them and to their descendants, because they are the ones who really fought for our independence and from slavery and from persecution. And we have every duty to ensure that we protect them. And I'm very happy to be there, to have been part of this process of empowering them. In my own, solemn reflection, I normally have those. I listen to some music, and I would like you to listen to a few songs from Fantan Moja. 2 songs, Stronger, and also Rasta Got Soul. So those of you tonight, you listen to your family, Fantan Moja, Stronger, the song Stronger, and also Rasta Got Soul. And then you will top it up with Grams Morgan, People Like You. God bless you. Let us look at the glass half full rather than half empty. And let us continue to pray for ourselves and for our country. And also let us keep in prayerful watch for our sister countries and the world over. They're really grappling with this COVID-19 in 2021. We thought 2020 COVID-19 will go away at the dawn of 2021, but it appears that it has gotten a bit worse. And we in Dominica, we have to be careful and cautious, We have to keep our guards up. We cannot put our guards down. And let me warn the people who come here on the yachts. You have to respect our protocols. I am not prepared to sacrifice the safety of our people over a few dollars. And when you come to our country, there are protocols. We love that you're here. It's a safe country. We've managed COVID-19 pretty well, but you have to respect the protocols. If you fail to respect it, then I will ban all yachts from coming to our country until some other time. So let us respect it. You have to stay on your yacht to quarantine, get your PCR test. When the health officials tell you that you can get out, you can get out. But do not come and play with our people's safety here. We take this very, very seriously, and we have managed this very well. It's been difficult for us. We welcome everybody. We love everybody from everywhere, but we're not going to sacrifice the safety of our people over a few dollars. Not under my watch as Prime Minister of this country. So listen to Fantan Moja, Stronger, Rasta God Soul, and you top it up with Grams Morgan, people like you. God bless you. I love you very much. Let us go and serve our country and our God. Thank you.